the Mudville Nine that day. The score stood 4-2 with but one inning more to play. And then when Cooney died at first and Barrows did the same, a sickly silence fell upon the patrons of the game.
A straggling few got up to go in deep despair. The rest clung to that hope which springs eternal in the human breast.
They thought if only Casey could but get a whack at that. We put up even money, now with Casey at the bat.
But Flynn preceded Casey, as did also Jimmy Blake. The former was a Lulu and the latter was a Kate. So upon that stricken multitude grim melancholy sat, for there seemed but little chance of Casey's getting to the bat.
But Flynn let drive a single, to the wonderment of all, and Blake, the much despised, tore the cover off the ball.
And when the dust had lifted, and they saw what had occurred, there was Jimmy safe at second, Flynn a hugging third.
Then from 5,000 throats and more, there rose a lusty yell. It rumbled through the valley, it rattled in the dell. It knocked upon the mountain and recoiled upon the flat. For Casey, mighty Casey! Was advancing to the bat.
There was ease in Casey's manner as he stepped into his place. There was pride in Casey's bearing and a smile on Casey's face.
And when responding to the cheers, he lightly doffed his hat. No stranger in the crowd could doubt 'twas Casey at the bat.
And now the leather-covered spear came hurling through the air, as Casey stood a-watching it in haughty grandeur there. Close by the sturdy batsman, the ball needed sped.
That ain't my style,
Said Casey. Steer on, the umpire said.
From the benches white with people, there went up a muffled roar, like the beating of storm waves on a stern or distant shore.
Shouted someone on the stand, and it's likely they'd have killed him had not Casey raised his hand.
With a smile of Christian charity, where Casey's visage shone, he stilled the rising tumult, he bade the game go on. He signaled to the pitcher, and once more the spheroid flew. But Casey still ignored it, and the umpire said, "Steroid two!"
Cried the mad thousands, and an echo answered fraud. But one scornful look from Casey, and the audience was awed.
They saw his face grow stern and cold. They saw his muscles strain. They knew that Casey wouldn't let that ball go by again.
The sneer is gone from Casey's lip, his teeth are clenched in hate. Pounds of cruel violence bad upon the plate. And now the pitcher holds the ball, and now he lets it go. And now the air is shattered by the force of Casey's blow. You're out!
Land, the sun is shining bright. The band is playing somewhere, and somewhere hearts are light.
Somewhere men are laughing, and somewhere children shout. But there is no joy in Mudville, for mighty Casey has struck out.
Nowhere on earth could she possibly
we find a fan more devoted than Minnie McMine. Miss Minnie loves baseball, she loves it with zeal, but televised games are for her an ordeal. If only the cameras would film low on view and avoid all the close-ups of players he chews. Miss Minnie could watch with her eyes open wide to see players hit, players catch, players slide.
That cameraman loved to zoom in on a shot down deep in the dugout where players are caught. Doing things with their bodies no lady can stand. Miss Min has to cover her eyes with her hands. Come on!
Shouts Miss Minnie as the batter steps up, but she covers her eyes and he nudges his cup. She looks at the screen at the sound of a hit. She looks just in time to see her man spit. A sand-turning slide makes her stand up and cheer till the runner hops up to dust off his rear. Down deep in the dugout, the floor's getting gooey. Miss Min gasps in horror when the bench goes, a gum-chewing player does not mean any abash unless a guy pops a ball or his mustache. Down deep in the dugout, the floor's getting wetter.
Oh, mercy.
Saves me and as the wet starts to get her.
The pitcher steps up to the mound, strikes a pose. Miss Min nearly faints. He is picking his nose. Down deep in the dugout, a sight gives her hint. The bench to a man is sniffing armpits.
At the end of the broadcast on national TV, Miss Minnie the fans had the pleasure to see her team win the game and carry the day. 5 homers, no errors, and 1 double play. But Minnie McMine feeling cheated a little
Because of the sniffing, the nudging, the spittle. She wishes just once she could cheer on her guys.
through a 9-inning broadcast without covering her eyes. Sister Agness, Apostolic, OSB, reporting for admission.
I see here in your resume, Sister Agness, that you are a Benedictine nun for most of your life on earth.
Yes, sir, I entered the novitiate at age 15. Took my full vows 3 years later. After that, I lived all the rest of my life as a parochial school nun. I taught 5th grade for over 50 years.
Sister Agness, did you live a good, useful, wholesome life?
Oh, come off it, Mo. She taught 5th graders for a half a century. You think she had any years you left over to make any sense?
John's right. Welcome to heaven and a well-deserved rest, Sister Agness.
Solo Deo Gloria.
Next! Old Case, reporting for spring training.
Old Case? I see no one here by the name of Old Case due today. There must be some mistake. The next candidate was supposed to be Charles Dillon Stingle.
That's me, Charlie Stingle, a.k.a. Dutch Stingle, a.k.a. Billy Paul Stingle, a.k.a. Jake Stingle, after an old outfielder by the name of Jake Stenzel. You might have known him from he come here before me. A.k.a. Kansas City Stingle, which got shortened down to the initials. That's why I got called Casey. KC, do you get it? Though, of course, I've been called a great many worse names than Casey. Them weren't no Sunday school names neither. No sirree.
What did you say your name was, son?
Casey. Old Casey Stingle. That's me. Mr. Stingle, what was your occupation on Earth? Well, now, that's a good question. 'Cause you see, I wasn't just one thing. I was both. That is, I pitched and batted and fielded. And I made some mighty fine slides. You should have seen them. Then after my dogs gave out, I took the manager. So most people would say I was a manager, but boss, I played too, and don't you forget it. Mark them both down.
Both of what, sir?
manager and player. And you can put down I wasn't no road apple.
Road apple.
Nor a plumber neither. That's what I call a no-count, whisker-slick, jelly-legged ball player who stays out drinking all night.
Well, wait a minute. Did you say ball player?
Yes, Your Honor.
Let the record show that the candidate of admission was a ball player.
And a manager, Your Lordship.
And a manager. Mr. Stingle, what kind of ball did you play?
Why, baseball. Major League, minor league, Class AA, Pacific Coast, American League, National League, sandlot ball. Anywhere I could get a chance to take a chopper to the old horsehide.
Excuse me, Mr. Stingle, what language are you speaking?
Well, some of them old sports writers used to call it stingalese. But to me, it's just good old plain American English.
Let's get back to the point here. The point is, Mr. Stingle, did you live a good, useful, wholesome life?
Well, I wasn't no nun like Sister Agness. I wasn't no sheep of Araby either. I got by with only one wife, 29 fewer than chief there. And I only got arrested once. And that was for kicking a photographer standing in front of the dugout. Did that loot think he was invisible? Anyhow, the judge set bail for only $30, so it wasn't that big of a crime after all.
I move that we swear this witness in.
Swear me in, hold on. This sounds serious. I've got a constitutional right for legal representation. I want a lawyer.
In the first place, Mr. Stingle, the rights of the United States Constitution do not apply here. And in the second, there are no lawyers in heaven.
I'm a goner.
Place your left hand on the book and raise your right. Do you?
Wait a minute. This ain't the good book.
No, sir. This is the official baseball rule book. We feel you'll be more truthful if you swear on it. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do. Amen.
I see here in your resume that you had a history of arguing, playing pranks.
I played a few. Not as many as the boys gave me credit for. Yes, of course, one day I tipped my hat and let a little birdie fly out, which you might call a spare, when the crowd was booing me. But I ain't the one who clipped Uncle Robbie with the citrus, although I like to tell the story.
Clipped Uncle Robbie? What are you talking about, Mr. Stingle?
Well, it was back when I was just a young player down in Florida for spring training. And our manager was this fat old guy named Wilbert Robinson. Everybody called him Uncle Robbie. Now, Uncle Robbie had been a mighty fine catcher before he took to managing. And one day he commenced to bragging that he was so good, he could catch a baseball dropped out of an airplane.
Nonsense. Mathematically impossible.
Well, one day somebody fixed it up with the pilot to fly low and slow over the field. And Uncle Robbie took a mitt and stood on the pitcher's mound. There came the plane and out come the ball. Uncle Robbie put his mitt up. Then, splat! He was laying flat on his back, yelling, "I'm killed! I'm dead! My chest split open! I'm covered in blood!"
The poor man. Did he bleed to death?
No, ma'am, you see, wasn't no baseball dropped out of that airplane, but a nice, soft grapefruit. And what he thought was blood was just juice stinging his eyes. Uncle Robbie always thought I was the one who juiced him, but I was on the ground watching the whole show.
Let's mush on. I believe you had a history of arguing with umpires.
You bet.
How many games did you get thrown out of?
I don't remember any. If I did, count that.
Mr. Stingle, do you consider that you lived a useful life?
Useful? Well, the most useful thing I ever done was set up an instructional school for the rookies.
Instructional? What's that?
He means instructional. Let it go. That's right, boss. Instructional. I took a great many pains to train them young fellas, because what you want is for your guys to execute. First, I'd line them up alphabetically according to height. Next came the drills. extra training for the slow boats. I was a big believer in platooning.
I don't believe we made our question clear.
Well, that's all right, because I'm not sure I'm going to answer it clear either.
Were you a good sport? What was your attitude about losing?
Sometimes you're the hero, sometimes you're the goat. When I managed for the Yankees, we collected pennants like a dog collects fleas. But when I went over the Mets, them plumbers showed me ways to lose I never knew existed. In 1964, I got to thinking, the only thing worse than a Mets baseball game was a Mets doubleheader. I look up and down the bench and say to myself, can't anyone here play this game?
You must have got pretty discouraged.
No, ma'am, you see, fans loved us, absolutely loved us. Even when they was booing us, they was laughing too.
People laughed?
You bet. Laughed at me, laughed at the team, laughed at me. Folks had a good time.
One moment, please. Charles Dillon Sting. It is the judgment of this panel that anyone who can make people laugh, even in losing situations, has earned his ticket of admission. Trixie, issue Mr. Stingler a pass good for all eternity.
Welcome to heaven, Casey. You mean I made it in spite of pranks and umpires and losing teams?
We don't expect perfect candidates, Mr. Stingle. You made the roster.
Well, that's amazing. Absolutely amazing. I always heard it couldn't be done, but it don't always work. Say, is there baseball here in heaven? Here's your halo, Mr. Stingle.